Good afternoon, everybody. And thank you for joining us for our final breakout session of the afternoon. I think you guys are really going to enjoy the talk that Aaron's going to provide here for Spartan Race and how he was able to leverage our data in his sponsorship efforts through the pandemic and hopefully beyond. Just to introduce Aaron, Aaron's had a long career in the entertainment, sports, and event marketing space. He started his career with Media Buying Services and DMB&B, a couple of media buying agencies. In the mid-1990s, he moved over to NBA Canada, leading broadcast partner relationships. In 2004, Aaron moved to Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment with a wide range of responsibilities, including broadcast rights negotiations, distribution deal management, and executive producer on multiple game broadcasts. His MLSE career culminated in 2019 at the same time as a certain basketball team was winning a championship. It might be a coincidence, but Aaron received a Canadian Screen Award for his production involvement in the broadcast of the Raptors winning Game 6 broadcast. So we had Kawhi and we had Aaron, both integral to our Raptors championship in 2019. In 2020, as Spartan was looking to enter the Canadian marketplace in a bigger way, Aaron joined as their first Director of Partnerships. With that, I welcome Aaron LaFontaine.
So how many people know what Spartan Race is? Put up your hand. That's good. How many people have done a Spartan Race? One. That's great. Oh, no, there's a few others. At the end, if you want to run a Spartan Race, October 22nd, 23rd, we'll be at Blue Mountain. Send me an email, I'll send you a code. Okay. So this is no, I'm gonna go back. That's not working. Is that working? Oh, no, I have to wait. Okay. Being patient. We'll see what happens. Okay. This was a really cool thing where people are running over obstacles and doing monkey bars and getting dirty and going under barbed wire. That's what a Spartan Race is. Okay, so what we do is we do hard shit. That's basically that's the mantra from our CEO. So if it's anything that's hard, we will get it. So we're a purposeful brand. What that means is we will take you from sitting on your couch, ripping you off your couch, and getting you training, eating, thinking, becoming more resilient, and then going out and do this thing. I was in Big White for the North American Championships, and there was a bunch of people running. And they were all doing 10Ks for the first time. One guy decided to do it the night before, and I sent him a code. And he was like, I tried to run 5K last night, and it was really hard. And he said, I think I'm going to be okay. And I saw him going over this big A-frame, which was the third last obstacle that you have to do before you finish, and he swore at me. But 20 minutes later, he was super happy. So it's pretty good. If it's hard, we'll do anything. So we have paddleboard, we have runs, we have hiking, we have anything that you want to think of, we'll buy that, okay? I work in Canada, I am Canadian. There are 4 of us in the Canadian office. We all don't go into an office. Our resources are all in Boston. I report into Boston. We have a marketing team, sponsorship services, sales, all that stuff. Okay. In 2020, we did 2 races. We did one in Red Deer the day before Alberta shut down, and then we did another one in Blue Mountain. This year, we'll have done 6, including, like I said, we did the North American Championships in Big White, and we'll do Blue Mountain next month. We average about 6,000, 7,000 people per race. We get spectators. We do it in big places. So we do Blue Mountain, we did Big White, we did Tremblant. So we do big events in big places. But the challenge was 2020 was a our first year, which I started in January. My boss was up here. We were meeting with people on the same day the NBA shut down. And then we didn't do any races. And we wanted to really grow the business. And it used to be a licensee. This became corporate. So we were investing in the company and the country. So here's what's the big difference. So when I was interviewing for the job, my boss said, I'm just going to go hire a 25-year-old kid. I am not a 25-year-old kid. And I'm going to get him to run around and find all these low-hanging fruit like FitAid. So FitAid in the U.S. is a multi-million-dollar company. It is a six-figure sponsor with Spartan. And in Canada, it's a guy who probably sells, a couple skids of FitAid out of his garage. He works in Caledon. So good luck with that sponsorship. CBD, big in the States. There's these companies that make cannabis look small. And what they'll do is they'll come in and they'll spend, $300,000-$400,000 and then flame out. And then the next one comes in. So there's always CBD in the States. Can't advertise CBD in Canada. There's a thing called the Marines, the Air Force, the Army. They recruit unbelievably well at Spartan Races. We had a Tough Mudder race last week. We went Tough Mudder, and I saw these two guys. It was the first time I had seen the armed forces activating at one of our races. And these two guys so they had a table, and then you're all the Tough Mudder people. And they were standing like this, and this was their activation. So I don't think we'll have any people coming back because they're not going to attract anybody. Massive partnership, we're not going to have that. So we needed a made-in-Canada partnership strategy, okay? So here's what we knew. There's research, comes out of the U.S., it might be North American from the battle days of licensees, but we know that our Spartan Racers support brands that support them and help them achieve their goals. And we have the data to prove that, but even better, when I was standing at Blue Mountain last year, I was just helping our partners activate and telling people, more importantly, where the beer garden was. And everybody thanks you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for supporting Spartan, because it's an important part of their lives, so they're very thankful and appreciative of sponsors. So we knew that. Who cares, right? Who cares? Who could we market to? What could we deliver to partners? What could I tell with real data? What could I tell potential partners who they'd be talking to? What would help them drive partnerships, okay? And the other thing is, and this was interesting because it was mentioned earlier, we had US data, but it was US data. Everything I started off with was information that I garnered from the US. Interesting, had some direction in terms of what we were talking about, but it wasn't Canadian. And it was also told us that we were overdeveloped against the military and first responders. And we don't have really, we have first responders, but not that big of a military audience. Okay. Well, here's what we knew. We had 14,000 individual unique postal codes from racers Canadian racers that had raced in Canadian races in 2019, 21, 22. So 14,000, that's a pretty good sample size. And I had worked with Environics a million years ago, and I kind of knew the power of what was in the art of possible. Okay? So what we did is we gave them the registration data. They ran it through, I have to remember, Demostats and Prism. They told us our profiles, and then they gave us detailed demographics. So all of a sudden, I not only could say that here's how many people we're going to have at the race, I could start telling them who they were going to reach. And what we had was downtown millennials and affluent families. Like almost 70% of our audience is that. They're basically young professionals with kids, very wealthy, incredibly diverse, and if you want those, I can deliver them every day, okay? And it also came from Environics. It didn't come from us. We weren't telling a story that we had done some research and this is what we found. This was speaking marketers' language. We were telling them something that they subscribed to Environics. They had this data. We gave them this data. They said, you're speaking our language, okay? So we went from these crazy people who come, this is more Tough Mudder, but these crazy people who come and run and go under barbed wire and go in the water and climb over 10-foot things and run 50K and do the ultra, which takes 8 hours. We went from those people to be able to say, this is who you're going to reach, okay? So what did we do with all this stuff? Well, first of all, anytime I talk to a potential partner, I send them the Environics report. I attach it and I just said, if this is who you want, this is who we got. And it just goes out, cold call, anything. And now I'll go into, I used to go in and I'd talk to somebody and I would say, do you know anything about Spartan? And the occasional CEO, because they're usually really proud of it, will hold up their medals. You get a medal when you finish. And then they'll tell me some story about they were in Kimberley and they did the ultra. And I'm like, well, great. How long is the ultra? I'm not really. Someone said to me, have you done a Spartan race? And I said, no. And they said, well, how can you sell it? And I said, I also did not play in the NBA or in the NHL, and I still sold that. Okay? But what they are is they're keen on Spartan. Okay? So they're passionate about Spartan. But this gives them the demographic information gives them the intelligence to go and say, not only do I love it, but look who we're going to reach. And then there's other people that are like, I know nothing about Spartan, but holy crap, look who I'm going to talk to if we go out to Spartan and we partner with them. So it's really good. And then what we do is we talk all the time about making sure that how you're communicating to our audience is in keeping with who our audience is, right? Because there's two things you need to know. Number one is, remember our target group's your target group, because we just told you that. And number two, here's a unique way to do it. And I'll give a bad example first. So there's a meal delivery company, and it rhymes with yellow besh. And they partnered with us. And they said, oh my God, your Environics stuff matches up perfectly with ours. We're in. And so they came to the Toronto race, and so we had these long conversations about how they should activate. And I said, you should be in the festival area and talk to people and have samples and give them something, give them a reward, have a game to make them play, because our target group's very competitive. And that gives you 5 minutes to talk to them and convince them that they should try your meal plan. And maybe have a meal plan that's really good, high protein, something like that, so that when they're training, this is what they could do. Yeah. So what they did was they set up right outside of registration. So imagine you're about to go run a 20K obstacle course race that's going to take you 3.5 hours. And you're going through registration. I know that the next thing that I would want to do is stop and talk to a sponsor about a meal plan when I know I've got to go to the start line and run 20K. But they were right there, that's what they were doing, smiling, and everyone just walks right by them because they're so focused and worried about, I'm about to subject myself to this painful experience. And everyone walked by. They did not come back. Their activation was terrible, okay? But we told them, this is who you're going to reach, and this is how you should do it. So here's a good example. Hopefully this video will work. No, maybe not. This is a good video, though. Okay, this video, so here's what we did. We got the opportunity to talk to Nissan, and they were all about thrill. They want to convince people that they're exciting, buy a Rogue, buy a vehicle that's kind of thrilling to do. And, we kind of have that vibe going on as well. So we took their commercial and our commercial and we cut it together and we made a 1-minute commercial, and it's really good. It's way better than the first video that I didn't show you. But we sent it, before we met with the agency, they had their agency and before we met with the agency, we sent them the video and they came back and they went, you got us. You had us at the video. But that's not going to win it. So what we did was we were then able to show them the target group. Here's who you're going to reach. It's family. They're wealthy. They're urban. This is where they live. These are the things that we can do. And it all worked. We had a creative message, and we had a data message. Now, the small problem is they didn't have to sell cars in 2022 because they didn't have any to sell. So at the last minute, they stopped being our title sponsor. And what we did is regrouped, and they came back and they activated at Big White. And now we're talking to them about 2022. Okay, we can see the video that we did. So like I said, we got them emotionally, and then we got them with data, right? That was the thing to win. When they were at Big White, they were obviously sponsor, and what they did is we built the barbed wire crawl, and in the middle of the barbed wire crawl was a frontier. So, and what we do is you get pictures of yourself going through obstacles, and we post them for free, and then that was branded Nissan. So here, you're killing yourself and about to die. We'll take a nice picture of you and we'll give it to you for free. It's perfect. It works. So, oh, look at now it works. Okay. So these are the pictures. This is examples of what we did. It ended up being a really good activation, right? The other thing is that not only do we get them to when you register, you have to give your postal code. When you come, we know you came, so then we can go back and just verify, here's everyone who was at the race. So number 2 is banks. So I couldn't get a bank to return a call if my life depended upon it because, they're very serious and we're a bunch of crazy people running around the countryside, okay? So what we kept on saying is we do have a really good audience. And we said what we can do is we can connect with you in a way that makes sense and connect with your brand in a way that makes sense. And what we did is we finally were able to show that they had, our racer has high household income, they're buying houses, they're leasing cars, they own companies, they're entrepreneurs, and all of a sudden banks want to talk to us. Not every bank, but banks do talk to us. And at Blue Mountain, we're going to be having a bank doing a test where we're going to do it's a disruptor online bank. I say that, I don't mean that they're small. They're a disruptor online bank, which is great because we're a little crazy too. But it'll be a test to see what we can do for 2023. And it's all based on, I sent them the Environics, and they were like, you are exactly who we're trying to reach. So I had this, a friend of mine used to own Mastermind Toys, and when I got hired by Spartan, I went to him and said, this is going to be perfect for you because we have a kids race and you can connect on Spartan Kids. And he said, yeah, that would be great, except I just finished selling the business and I've retired. So I started talking to the new people at Mastermind, and they were like, this is weird and edgy, and we don't get it, and we don't understand the concept, and it doesn't make a lot of sense, but we'll keep talking. And then what we said is, that the kids just don't arrive. They come with their parents, right? And so what we did is we shared, again, our data with them about who our audience was. And what we said is you can reach affluent families. And so what they're doing is, and the other insight we had was this. So I'm at Blue Mountain last year, and so kids do an untimed race. If you're older, you can do a timed race. But they go and they do like a 1 kilometer run, and there's no barbed wire. But when they're done, they run around, they're running around Blue Mountain climbing on everything. They climb on kid broke his arm on the tree. That was not an obstacle, okay? But they're climbing on everything, fences, and if we flipped over a picnic table, they climb on. And so, because they're so hyped after doing the Spartan race that they have all this energy. My wife's a teacher, and she came and she said, if I could bottle that swagger, that was amazing watching these kids when they finish the race. So what we're doing is Mastermind has the slack lines, and so what we're going to do is we're going to do an activation zone. So what it is, okay, crazy kid, go over there. Now you've just done the race. Go over there and burn off the energy, and they're going to sponsor that. And they also are going to be talking to the parents, and we fit into the target group perfectly. So that's the third one. So they're going to do pictures. This is what we've been doing so far. Is again, get your picture. It's branded with Mastermind Toys. Okay. So where are we now? So we have a unique position when we talk to sponsors. Number one is that we have this crazy idea, our community is super engaged, they're intense, they activate against brands. If you can help them achieve their goals, they will support you even more, right? So that's one, it's really interesting in how, a good example is, at Blue Mountain, so races start, there's an ultra where you run 50K and you do 130 obstacles and the winning time is 8 or 9 hours. And so they're going off early and then the races start at 7:30 in the morning. And people we had a company, Crank Coffee, they were there giving samples of coffee and they were doing something which was, they were grinding the coffee beans there and brewing it right there. The guy who is activating had to drive to Collingwood to the Staples and get a square so that he could do all the transactions because people wanted to buy a pound of coffee to thank him for having coffee available to them early in the morning. So that's what we have. But we also have those insights, right? I can prove to you who we're reaching, okay? It gives us new categories. What we spent on Environics, and we were not a big spender. Like we did the run. That's what it was. I was just kind of doing the math, and if we get two of the partners that I think we're going to get for 2023, we will have a 100x return on our investment just with two partners. Okay, so it's kind of good. We also think about where we're going to go. Should we go to Calgary? Should we go to Edmonton? The RCMP has their 150th anniversary next year, and the training depot in Regina, it isn't a training depot, it's the training depot. They came to us and said that they wanted to do Spartan Race there. And so my father and my brother are both in the RCMP, so I had a soft spot for it, and I was trying to make it work, but we just couldn't make it. We could do the analysis. It's not big enough of a target group for this but we now look at our venues and choose venues based on who we can deliver. Big White paid us, and the city of Kelowna paid us a fee to come because they're trying to make it a summer destination. And because we could bring people, they paid us some money, okay? And so now what we're doing is we're starting to think about where should we go and what is the market like? Because it's a really good example. I keep on telling the airline industry, 8% of our average racer travels far enough to have to fly, okay? If you kind of work that over our target, our audience, that's like $2.5 million worth of flights in a year for just Canada. And then you match up with what our target group is. maybe you might want to talk to us about becoming an airline partner. So those are the kinds of conversations that we can have now that they don't have in the States, because they just, they get fit aid to spend $5,000 on a race. They have, 50 races, $250,000, just like that. So when I was reaching out to all the agencies, I got this unsolicited feedback from Mike Smith at Diamond Marketing Group, and he was like, I wish everyone did this. I also wish that he would actually get one of his clients to become a sponsor, but I'm willing to take the quote right now, right? So, but it's like, I know when I was at MLSE, we didn't give anyone this kind of information. We didn't really share a deep insight into what our audiences were. And so, and I think that if you're an advertiser, you should be asking for this from your sponsorship person. That's all. And there's my email. If you want to run a Spartan race, aaron.lafontaine@spartan.com. I'll send you a code. All you have to do is pay for the insurance. That's it. Any questions? Oh, good. We can go back to the beginning. They're going to play. This will show you what Spartan's like.
We had one goal in mind when we started Spartan, and it was to rip people off the couch.
We were looking for something new, and we were out there. There's great camaraderie with other people, and it's great community. And so they love the challenge, and they come back because they get in a smart family.
You gotta get out there, and although you've never done it, and it's outside of your comfort zone, you gotta tell yourself, I can do this. You're a part of something bigger than just you running the race.
So if you still want to run, you just send me an email. Good question there.
Back in the early 2000s, the Eco Challenge was on TV, and Subaru was running an adventure racing series. I don't know if it was all over Canada, but it was definitely in Ontario. And then it all seemed to fizzle out. I'm wondering if you've got insight into what they did wrong, or if they just didn't run the right type of race, or any insights into that?
Yeah, so I think that part of it with the Eco Challenge was that it was big destinations far away, was kind of where your next step was. And so then the thing was is that, like I had a friend, a high school friend who trained for and did Eco Challenges around the world. And he was always like in Tanzania or stuff like that. And the thing about it is that that's great, but you need to have something which is down the road, or like at Blue Mountain or something like that. And you need to have all the different things, which is 5K up to the 50K, right? So you have to make it approachable for people. And the other thing was is that they were just about the race. They weren't thinking about how am I helping you to get to finish the race. That's the other thing. Good. I answered everything.